Hello, Widowhood. Our guest today is Miss Jessica Garland, and she is going to share with us today her journey in the loss of her daughter. There's a lot of conversation, there's a lot of information to cover. So be prepared, take notes, and you will find yourself in this conversation and you will be able to relate. Let's get into the conversation now.
Many people talk about the ups and downs of married life, but no one really prepares you for life after your spouse passes away. Welcome to Widowhood Real Talk with Tina, a safe place for widows, widowers, and their friends and family to talk about love and loss. Find comfort as you listen to honest conversations between Tina and invited guests who've experienced the loss of their forever partner. Share their stories of love, grief, and healing. You are not alone in this journey. Join today's episode and discover a wealth of resources and learn how to connect with others who are traveling the same path. This is Widowhood Real Talk with Tina.
Hello, Jessica, and welcome to Widowhood Real Talk with Tina.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. Where are you at currently in the world?
I am in Georgia. I'm
Okay.
in Lawrenceville, Georgia.
Are you from there originally?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
I was raised in Connecticut.
Oh, okay. That's a bit of a
I
ways.
was raised in the state of Connecticut.
Okay, so how do we get from Connecticut to Georgia?
Whew. Okay, this is a story. I had my daughter April 12th, 1990. And shortly after having her, I started getting these headaches. That would not go away, that get worse and worse and worse, to the point that I wasn't even able to lift my head off the pillow. That's how bad, if I lift my head up, the headaches were. I get rushed to the hospital because it gotten so bad that my eyes had rolled back in my head. I was jaundiced from head to toe. They rushed me to the hospital. My father, who lived in Hartford, Connecticut at the time, met me at the hospital to be able to help with the baby because she was a baby at the time. And they tell me that I had meningitis in my brain. They basically said to my father and to my mother, who came to the hospital, that if I lived, I would probably be a vegetable.
Now your daughter was born in April. When did this transpire, you said again?
Let's see, like June.
Okay, June. Okay. Of 1990.
Yeah, like 3 months after. And it was because I was in labor with her for 16 hours, 17 hours. And they were thinking that, we're going to give you an epidural, what I'm saying, for the pain, this, that, and the other. But I didn't have any pain. But this is all, we want you to get some rest, what I'm saying, so that when it comes time to push, you'll have the energy, to push. And I was like, okay, I'm young. I'm only 20 years old. I'm by myself. Basically the nurses and techs and stuff were my support team, my birthing support team, because I was by myself. I was technically just coming out of being homeless, like a week and a half shy of coming out of being homeless. I was in a shelter pregnant with her. The story is just so complex. It's just really weird. I didn't find out. I found out that I was pregnant with her actually by an accident.
Okay.
I was working at a company called Record World, and I had got offered a job in their advertising department in upstate New York, which was like $100,000 a year. And I was like, oh yes, I'm about to be making some money at a young age. I'm already a manager and district manager and stuff. So I was like, okay, I'm moving up the chain quick. And my hair was, these are braids, but my hair was a little bit longer than what these braids are at the time. I'm just, I washed my hair, conditioned it, and I'm getting ready for this interview, and I put the curling iron in my hair, and it slid so fast out, and it popped back in my eye.
Okay, so hold on. What Black woman ain't never had the electrical burn in her eye? Because I'm telling you, I have. So if my less melanated sisters out there, if y'all got the electrical burn, I want you to put in the comments wherever you listen to this podcast. I just want you to put eye or burn, because I can tell you when you said that, I remember Oh yeah, and it was right here, like across my eye, across my eyebrow, and I'm like, there's no amount of makeup that's gonna hide that because that burn is there. And then you see a sister be going like, yeah, I know how that happened. Okay, but we digress. But I just couldn't help the electric curl
I
burn.
was, it happened so fast that, you know how you're like, when something like jars you, I'm like, and because my eye was so open,
Oh yeah,
um,
it's like trying to sneeze
literally
when
the
you're
curl,
driving.
it burnt my eye lens. You know,
Ooh,
it went inside, it burnt my eye lens. You know what I'm
oh
saying?
my.
So I'm rushed to the hospital, and I was bodybuilding, you know what I'm saying, and working out very heavily. And I was practicing Kung Fu at the time. So I was extremely in shape.
Hmm.
You know, like washboard, and you could wash clothes on my stomach. I had so many ripples in my abs, you know. Yeah, that's not the case now, you know what I'm saying? But at any rate, I get rushed to the hospital, and they're doing their blood work because they're thinking they're going to have to do optic surgery and,
Oh,
you know,
okay.
all this, that, and the other, and remove the lens and stuff. And they come back and it says, "Oh, you're pregnant." I was like, "I'm not pregnant. I had just had my cycle." So I was
Oh,
like, "I just came off my cycle like yesterday." And they were like, "No, ma'am, just saying that you're pregnant." And I was like, "Somebody made a mistake in the lab." I said, "That's somebody else's test, what have you." And they were like, "Okay, well, we're going to do it again." So the phlebotomist comes back up and she
okay.
draws more blood again. And the actual head phlebotomist does the test. And he comes back up. He comes up and he says, "Ma'am, we did it again. This is you. You are pregnant. You are very pregnant. Your hormones are so high. It's like you're very pregnant, you know, like far into your pregnancy." And I'm like, "Y'all are tripping." I lift the covers up, I lift my gown up, and I show them my stomach. I'm like, "Pregnant where? What do you mean very pregnant?" I was like, "I am not pregnant." They turn around and send me for an ultrasound. And come to find out, that's when I found out my uterus does this little tilt
I'm
backwards
about to
thing
say,
where there's
yeah.
like a little pocket, you know, there's a pocket down in there.
Yep.
She's in the pocket just chilling this whole time. And they turn around and they do the measurements, whatever. I was like 5.5 months pregnant
Oh wow. And your
and
daughter's name?
didn't even know it.
And your daughter's name?
Her name is Kendra,
Kendra. Okay.
Kendra Leanne Mason.
Do you have any other children?
I have two other daughters,
Okay. And
two younger daughters.
okay.
Kendra was my firstborn. She
Okay.
was my firstborn. And I have two other children, Michaela
Okay.
and Ivaria. They
Thank
are
you.
Irish twins.
Oh,
Yes,
okay. So Kendra comes into this world April 12th,
April 12th.
and your life is forever different. Tell me some of your favorite memories of Kendra.
She was a ball player like me.
Okay.
Me and her father used to play basketball together on the weekends for money. You know, we used to like, you know, do little team things and stuff on the
Okay.
courts. Um,
That's street ball.
and yeah, we used to play street ball, you know, at the street courts and stuff. And we used to
Right.
play on the weekends. And we had so much in common. I actually had a crush on her father when I was in like the second grade. You know, I
Oh,
used to just, you know, look over at him because he's like 4 years older than me. So I used to just look over at him and I would see his little Chinese like eyes and I'd just be gazing or whatever. And then he would be like, "Bust," you know what I'm saying? Just kind of like snap me out of my little
doing what
daze.
kids should do at that age.
Yeah, you know,
Yeah.
I mean, it was so funny because, you know, he was, you know, far ahead of me as far as years were concerned back then.
Hmm.
And we kind of, I used to follow him because I used to love to watch him play basketball.
Hmm.
So he went to a different high school and everything because I was in West Haven, Connecticut, and he was in New Haven, which is
Okay.
just, you know, a couple of miles away, but he went to a different school district. And I used to go to the games and I would be yelling, you know, from the stands, "Come on, D up, Gary, come on, D up. Yo, watch your side, watch your side." And he'd be looking around like, "Who is this yelling at me?" And it was me the whole time. He never knew it until I was 19 years old. I was working at Record World in the mall. It was the Chapel Street Mall in New Haven, Connecticut.
Okay.
And I was a district manager at the time. Him and my cousin came into the store. Record World was like the equivalent of what they call a Camelot music store.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if you know the names. It was it was just a music store where you can go get tapes and CDs and things like that or whatever back in the day when they used to do that.
I'm about to say, when you said Record World, I was like, that does not exist anymore. Unless it's online.
Yeah, none of those exist anymore. But they do, but
favorite memories of Kendra. That's what you're going to tell me.
Favorite memories of Kendra. Just watching her, she ended up wanting to play basketball.
Okay.
I gave her choices, as she was growing up. She tried dancing school because I went to 12 years of dancing school myself. So she tried dancing school and she couldn't tap dance like Gregory Hines in one day and she wanted to give up. And I was like, oh, I spent a lot of money on these tap shoes and ballet shoes and stuff. Then she thought about cheerleading and I was like, okay, look, mom is not about wasting money. So let's go to the football games and see what the cheerleaders do.
Oh, okay. A little recon.
Right. So then if you decide that you want to be a cheerleader, then we will invest money into it. Because the dancing school thing kind of like, Yes, I was like, that's a lot of money out the window.
Okay.
Then she looked at him and she didn't quite like the attitude of the cheerleader. She was like, I don't like the way they act. They're mean, mommy. And I was like, because at the time, cheerleading is expensive.
Okay, you learn. Okay, so that will do a little. Okay, so note to parents: if your children want to do all these different things, do a little recon. Go check out the stuff they're doing before you put the money down on it. Okay, that's a nugget
Take
right
them and
there.
let them see what goes on in that particular area, so they can really make a decision whether or not they really want to do it or not.
Okay.
So I took her to some basketball games and stuff, and she was like, oh yeah, I could do that. I can do that. And I was like, yeah, you think so? I was like, I didn't say anything. I just let her make her decision. She was like, I want to play basketball. And I was like,
in your jeans.
Yeah, I was like, yay. My heart was just like, hallelujah.
Right.
Because basketball at the time, recreation was only like $50. Cheerleading was $300. You know what I'm saying? So
I was thinking at least had to be over 150. Yes. We'll take basketball for 50.
Yes, I totally took the basketball. So I was happy about that. She was a dancer.
Okay.
I'm the singer. She's not, she could hold a note, but she's not a lead singer like me. I'm a lead singer. I'm a vocalist, but she's basically more as a background singer.
Okay.
But the way that she sang was through dancing.
Her expression.
I mean, my sister used to call her the pop locker. She used to call her.
Oh, I remember that. Oh,
yeah. I mean, she could pop lock and do all that ticking and everything.
Okay.
And, I have a video of her just before her passing, with her friend. She was like 15 at the time. And it was her friend's sweet 16 birthday party. And one of the guys at the birthday party kind of challenged her. And she was just sitting there looking at him like, okay, yeah. And then all of a sudden my play brother goes, get him, Kendra. And she just starts ticking. And I mean, she just ticked them all the way to a chair and made them sit down. I was like, yes, that's my favorite.
Oh, wow. So
her fluidity was amazing. That she had it just naturally, never going to dancing school.
Oh, wow.
Never learning, official or orthodox, dancing, whatever. She just naturally had it. It truly was like a gift for her.
Wow.
As well as like singing is a gift for me. Dancing was a gift for her. And basketball was a gift for her.
Okay.
She was one of the youngest that was playing AAU.
Oh.
At a very young age.
Okay.
They actually drafted her. They were like, we want her. And I was like, I can't afford AAU. They was like, don't worry about it. They paid for everything because that's how bad they wanted her.
Wow. And this was at what age? What age was this when she was drafted?
She started playing basketball when she was 8.
Okay. No, when she
She
was
started
drafted, what age was this?
and she got drafted at 10.
Okay.
Yeah, at 10 years old, she got drafted in AAU.
Okay.
And she started playing there because she was playing recreation before that. And
Okay.
they just, we want her, we're going to take her with us. And I
Nice.
was going through quite a bit at that time already.
Okay.
Um, I had at this particular time, I now had my two youngest daughters.
Okay.
Um, and I had heart failure massively after
Mm,
that.
okay.
Um, that's another ordeal in itself.
Well,
I've been
okay.
through
So
so many things.
we'll circle back to something you said, and as we have this conversation. You
Okay.
mentioned about the video being taken before Kendra passed. And I want to tell you thank you for being willing to have this conversation because a lot of people experience the death of their child. I don't want to ask a lot of questions, but I would like for you to pick up as far as where Kendra is and what you want to share about her passing at your own speed without me asking questions. Or would you prefer me to ask you questions through that?
It probably would help me to
Okay.
ask to keep me
Okay.
in
Okay.
line, so to
Okay.
speak, or whatever, because there's so much information.
Okay. I can do
Um,
that.
it would
Okay.
help me to stay
Focus.
focused.
Okay. So Kendra, you have that video of her. And how old was she when she left this world?
She was 17.
17.
She
Very
just turned
younger,
7. Yeah,
just
she had
turned
just turned
7.
17.
Okay. And what was the nature of her leaving this world?
She was murdered.
Mm. And how did you find out about this?
She was at work. She
Okay.
started college early. She was jointly enrolled in college and in high school at the same time.
Okay.
Um, and she worked two jobs. She worked at a VIP lounge in the airport,
Okay.
the Atlanta airport, Hartsfield Atlanta airport. And she also worked at this area urban store in the mall at Greenbrier Mall.
Okay.
And she was such a busy little girl. Everybody used to always be like, slow down, take time. You got plenty of time. And she would always be like, no, not enough time in the day as it is already. Gotta go, gotta go. So they used to call her baby girl about her business because she was just always like, gotta go, gotta go, gotta go. And she was at her job, her second job at the mall, this little urban store. And it was June 16th. Um, that particular year, it was Father's Day.
Okay.
So she was born on Easter Sunday and murdered on Father's Day.
Mm. What year?
2007, June
Okay.
16th.
Thank you.
And
Take your time.
she, there was a young man that approached her at her job at the mall. I mean, not
Okay.
at the mall, I'm sorry, at the airport. She worked in the VIP lounge where the stars came through and what have you. And she was often asked to do a particular position at the job that she was not legally of age to do.
Okay.
She could not be a server or a waitress, even though they wanted her to,
Okay.
because she wasn't old enough to serve alcohol.
Right.
And she constantly have to remind them, I'm not old enough to do that job. They're like, we keep forgetting because she was very extremely mature for her
Okay.
age. Most people often thought that she was older than what she
Okay.
was because of her conduct and her
Mm.
speech. Her speech was well beyond her years, even when she was a baby. Her speech was well beyond her years. And I used to always call her young with an old soul.
Mm.
But one of the guys that worked in this airport at another place, whatever, in the kitchen or what have you, somewhere, he had approached her and asked her to be his girlfriend. And she said, I don't attach myself to people that I don't know. She said, present yourself. And when I'm ready, I'll make my decision. He says, oh, it's because I got, dreadlocks, this, that, and the other. And she was like, no, I actually like, I'm saying, locks. She said, I just like them to be manicured and neat and clean, but She says, I don't have any problem just because you have lots. She says,
Right.
I don't know you. She says, and I don't attach myself to things that I don't know what it's about. And she came home and she told me, what she had said. And I was like,
Okay.
good girl, because that's what I taught her. I taught her that, you're going to meet lots of people.
Yes.
Um, and you have the right to choose
Absolutely.
who you attach yourself to and why. I said, some people are there for a reason. Some
Mm.
people are there because they see where you're going.
Okay.
I said, and they want to ride your coattail. I said, well, not unless you're planning on, feeling like you got a 500-pound sack of potatoes on your back all the time. You might want to be mindful of what you, attach to you.
Right.
And what you attach yourself to. I said, because, you're obligated once you start attaching yourself to things. And she was
Very
like, that
good.
makes sense, Mom. I could have the most logical adult conversations with her, even though she was a child.
Okay.
Her professors and her teachers used to call me all the time. One of her professors actually brought her home. One day he was like, she had to stay after because she was using his computer because something was wrong with the printer. I didn't have the printer. My printer was out. So she needed to print off an assignment. And she was using the teacher. He was like, I had to bring her home because I wanted to meet this great woman who raised such an awesome, prolific child. And I was like, oh, because you pray that when you raise your kids a certain way, you give them these morals and these values, and then
Right.
sometimes they go out in the street and act the fool. And you're like,
Sometimes
they
it
don't
then
raise you
right.
that way. So it
Exactly.
was,
Represent what we've been giving you.
right. So I was kind of like, at first when they pulled up, I was kind of like, oh my God, what did my child do? That, people are bringing her home. And I was ready to go in on her. And he was like, no, everything is fine. He said, I just really wanted to meet. She said that, you raised her by yourself. And I was like, yes, her father was pretty much absentee the whole time. And he was like, he said, I just had to meet, the woman who raised such a wonderful child. She said, do you realize this child has a way of pulling out of you things that you have no intentions on sharing with a teenager?
Mm.
She had the same gifts as I do.
So you're
I am
talking about.
spirit.
So you want me to keep you on track. So I'm gonna pull you back a little bit.
Okay.
She comes home and she tells you what this young man says, and then what
Right.
happens from there?
He, I guess, starts presenting himself in a couple of weeks' time. He's presenting himself and he's wanting to come by. And I says, well, I want to meet him.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Because he wanted to take her out on a date. And I was like, you're not going anywhere with someone that I have never met. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I said, I want to meet him. So she brings him to the house and I meet him. He's this wirely skinny, little dude, what have you. He barely has any facial hair. It's like peach fuzzy. His speech was even of a teenager.
Okay.
His speech was of a teenager, not of a 25-year-old man.
Okay. Okay. He was 25. Okay.
Right. And he tells me that he's 19.
Oh.
I asked him, I said, how old are you? He said, I'm 19. So, but there was nothing about him that if it was something about him, like he looked older than 19 or his speech was giving more than 19, I probably would have been like, let me see some ID.
Okay.
But there was nothing about him that rang a flag for me to say, let me see your ID.
Okay.
I didn't even find out how old he really was until he had murdered my daughter.
Okay. So the young man that she brought home was the one that actually murdered her.
Yes.
How long had they been dating before that took place?
Like maybe give or take a day or so, like 30 days. It was not long at all.
Do you know why he
It
chose
was
to
not
do
long
this?
at all. Just before he did it, actually like 2 days before he did it, he had came to the house.
Okay.
It was a beautiful hot day. I had all the windows open. I'm in a house, not in an apartment or what have you. So I'm in a house and I'm in the front room where my office was. And I'm
Okay.
on my computer. I was actually in the middle of writing my first book. And that book was going to be titled To Be Found Worthy.
Okay.
Because I felt like once I get further into who my daughter actually was, which is kind of weird. Some people may believe me, some people may not. I really don't care. But when I found out who she was to God, you know what I'm saying? I was like, I was found worthy of that. And the title of the book was To Be Found Worthy. I was about on chapter 9, and I'm just typing away. He comes to the house. He has some flowers, and he has this little knockoff pocketbook, and he was trying to buy her affections. But prior to that, like the week before that, he was saying that he wanted to go to Le Cordon Bleu school for to be a chef, to become a chef. And she, you know, being the supportive person that she was, she had actually taken the day off of work. And I didn't know this until after the fact, you know, when she came home, but she actually stopped at the bank and she had taken out $200 to put his deposit down for the classes and everything. And she was going down there. She gets down there to support him in going to school. You know, I mean, she's literally on her way to Harvard. She had a full ride to Harvard. You know what I'm saying? She was going to college. And he was like, you know, I want to go to cooking school or whatever. And she was like, okay, so she's supporting him. She gets down there with him and finds out at this interview for him to go to this school that he does not have a high school diploma or a GED.
Okay.
So there were so many things that she was just really ticked off when she got home. She was like, got me wasting my time. I got things I got to do. You know what I'm saying? I get all the way down there, Mom, and he doesn't even have a high school diploma or a GED. You know, whoa. And I was like, well, I said, that is the reason why I asked you, you know, when people approach you, wanting you to be their girlfriend, that you have them present themselves so that when you do make your decision, you're making a sound decision, whether or not, you know what I'm saying, you want to put up with that.
And you make a good point.
Is that going to be conducive for the life that you're trying to live?
Because dating is just that. So, it's getting to know somebody. It's not a commitment.
My point exactly. So she did exactly what I had been training her and teaching her to do. So I was not upset with her at all when she came home upset. But she did let me know that, you know, he was definitely not in alignment where she was going.
Okay.
So a couple of days later, he's at my house and he's on the porch and he's, you know, like kind of begging her to accept him and to be his girlfriend. And, you know, he's got these flowers and this little knockoff pocketbook and he's trying to buy her affections.
Right.
And she says, you know, I'm listening to the whole thing because my window is open. I can hear everything.
Right.
But I'm not interfering because she's now 17, getting ready to graduate. She has to learn how to make her own way, make sound decisions for herself. So I wasn't going to interfere unless I felt necessary to.
Okay.
And I'm just listening to her, and she's telling him, he was like, you know, I bought you these flowers and this pocket, whatever. She said, you've got me twisted. She says, I'm not high maintenance. She says, I'm maintenance. She said, I can buy all of this for myself. I got 2 jobs. You know, she was just, you know, basically talking to him. So I'm sitting here thinking to myself, I'm like, okay, Jess, you did a good job, Jess. I'm just like, girl. And I'm over here typing, but I'm like, yeah, tell him, baby, you know? And I'm just listening. And he turns around, he's upset because he said, well, you said, you know, to give you time and you was gonna make your decision, she said. And now, after everything that I have obtained and knowledge-wise concerning you, my decision would have to be no. She said, I can't even help you get into a community college where I'm going. She says, I'm going to Harvard. She said, you have no high school diploma or a GED. I can't even help you get into a community college where I'm going. And this not in Georgia. This is all the way, you know, in Boston.
Right.
So she's, trying to explain to him that you're not going to be able to keep up with me where you are in your life,
They're
and
not a
said,
good
I don't
fit.
think it's fair.
Yeah, they're
She
not a
was like,
good
I don't
fit.
think it's fair for you to ask me not to go to college
Right.
because you didn't do what you needed to do.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? For this, she said, I put in the work. And I'm just listening to her. And he made a statement of, oh, you know what I'm saying? You just judging me, da, da, da. And his tone changed.
Okay.
And I was like, okay. I went and I grabbed the dog. You know what I'm saying? My little dog X. So I grabbed my dog and I went to the front door. And normally my dog, he'll kind of post up a little bit, you know what I'm saying, if he doesn't know you.
Mm-hmm.
And he was kind of like, I guess he felt the energy. So he was like,
Oh.
and I was like, look, she said no. She's made her decision. You know what I'm saying? Please leave her alone. I said, if you continue to harass her, I will call the police.
Okay.
I said, she's made her decision. I said, we're in Georgia. You know what I'm saying? It's 20 women to every one man here. If she ain't the one, you got 19 others to choose from.
Right.
Move on. You know what I mean? It's not that serious. You know what I mean? So I didn't think anything of it. He left and he kind of sulked away or whatever. He got into his old beat up Crown Vic and, scurried on away. I didn't think anything of it. I didn't think we were going to have any problems after that. I figured he probably would still be calling her and
Right.
texting her,
The
what
normal
have you.
stuff.
The normal stuff. I really did. I just thought it was normal. She's off to class. And then she was like, okay, well, mom, I got to go to work. And I'm like, okay. That particular day, it was a Friday. I had to go to Emory because I had a massive stroke before this all happened, before I moved to College Park in Georgia, where that's when I had died and I was dead for 48 minutes and, all of that and what
I like
have you.
he's just
So
gonna
I'm
swoop over there, but like, okay, that is a whole, like, oh, I died for 48 minutes. I'm like, okay, I'm a 48. Okay, so there's probably gonna be a part two to this conversation, but we're gonna stay on. So he leaves, she goes to school, and you had a medical appointment. Because to go any more beyond that, we will be here for 5 hours. So we're gonna have to partial this out because you also want to talk about who your daughter was, and I want to give space for that. But go back to this part where so you have the medical appointment.
So I had a medical appointment and she's, letting me know she's going to work, what I'm saying, what have you. And I'm like, okay. I said, well, I'll see you, when you get out of work.
Right.
Because that particular appointment is going to be like an all day appointment. I've got to go to like 4 different floors in this hospital for different tests every time I would go. So I said, okay, I'll see you later on. I'm saying, you have a good day. I said, be careful. And she was like, yes, ma'am. What have you. Normal day. She calls me. I'm home now. This particular weekend, a friend of mine is wanting me to, his church is wanting me to come and sing for the weekend at this program that they were having for the weekend, like a revival type of thing for the weekend. But my car was not in the best shape at the moment. So I was like, okay, well, how am I going to get all the way to Gwinnett County from Fulton County? It's like a 50-minute ride. He was like, I'll come get you. You guys can stay in my spare bedroom, what I'm saying, for the weekend or whatever. I was like, okay. I said, well, she doesn't get off of work until 9 o'clock, so I said, by the time you get finished working and get down here, she'll be home and her bags are already packed, mine are packed, whatever. And he's on his way at this time. It's about 8:15 or so that he's calling me, letting me know that he's on his way, I'm saying, down to come pick us up for the weekend. She's like, I'm about to get off work in a minute, what I'm saying, or whatever. I says, okay. I said, well, let me know, when you get off or whatever, and I'll meet you at the train station. Because she would take the train to the mall to get to go to work. And I said, well, let me know when you get ready to go to the train station and I'll meet you at the train station and we'll walk the little way home together because it's dark outside. And this was at 9 o'clock. She calls me at 9 o'clock to tell me that I'm off work and I'm on my way to go catch the train. And I said, okay, meet you at the train station. And I said, oh, how did it go? Because here it is, Father's Day weekend. All she ever wanted all her life was the affection and the acknowledgement from her father, but she just never seemed to get it. You know, she would ask me all the time, you know, mommy, why doesn't my daddy call me? Why doesn't he, you know, call me? Why doesn't my daddy do this for me? Why doesn't my daddy? And I would never speak ill about him. I would always answer her honestly, I don't know. I said, you know, you have to ask him.
Right.
And I would give her the number, 203, blah, 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 blah. You know what I'm saying? I'll be like, blah, 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 you know? And the number has never changed. You know what I'm saying? All these years, you know what I'm saying? It's never changed. You know, it's the same number. And she just never could get, you know, him to answer the phone or to respond to her or what have you. And she bought all the men, all the fathers at her job. This was the last thing that she did. This was the very last thing that she did. She bought all the fathers at her job Atlanta A's hats, and she had their name embroidered on them at the place in the mall.
That is, and she no had gifted
all the fathers.
Okay.
Yeah. Wow. She gifted them all these hats, you know what I'm saying, in honorment of being a father. And one of the young men that she gifted this hat to, he was a new father. His baby was only like a month old.
Okay.
She was only a month old. And she was, you know, I said, how did it go? She says, oh, it went well. They loved it, you know, woo, woo, woo. And I said, okay, well, I'll meet you at the train station. She says, okay. And I'm, you know, putting on my speakers and about ready to, you know what I'm saying, leave out the door. And as soon as I touched the doorknob, it felt like someone had snatched my heart out of my chest.
Okay.
I mean, I physically felt it. And then my face began to hurt like somebody just like, pow, you know what I'm saying? My face just began, I was like, and I was holding my face and I was holding my chest and I was like, instantly I knew something happened to her.
Okay.
So I started calling her phone and she wasn't answering.
Okay.
And I was just calling it back to back, back to back, back to back. I was like, answer your phone. You know not to answer your phone. I was like, answer your phone. Why are you not answering your phone? And I just kept calling it. It would ring and it would just go to voicemail. It would ring and go to voicemail. And I picked up the phone again, and now I'm calling the minister, you know what I'm saying, that's on his way to my house to pick us up. And I'm like, where are you? He says, oh, I'm coming down now. He says, I'm right here. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, put your flashes on and hit the gas. I said, something happened to Kendra. I said, we got to get to the mall. Something happened to her. I can feel it. I said, I know it. And he was like, no, don't say that. It's all good. I'm coming. I said, look, put your flashers on and speed. You need to get here like right now. He pulls up to my house and he comes up here and I was like, I said, something's wrong. I said, something happened to my daughter. I go in, I grab my purse, and we're getting ready to walk out the door from me just grabbing my purse and going to the door. As soon as I stepped my foot out of my front door onto my porch, I saw a black unmarked go by.
Okay.
And it stopped, you know what I'm saying, like towards the top of the street. And I'm literally close to the top of the street. Okay. I lived in one of those, like, you go to the top of the street and it's like a sharp turn. It's not a stop sign, it's just kind of like a turn, what have you. So I'm like the one house right after that, you know what I'm saying, coming down. And I saw the brakes hit. And when I saw the brakes hit and I saw the black unmarked, I knew it. I went back in the house. I threw my purse and my phone on the sofa. And I know it's not my language that I prefer to use on a regular. Thank God for the bridlement of my tongue. But my exact words were, son of a bitch, my daughter is dead. And he was like, why would you say that? Don't say that. Don't say that. Because when the black unmarked went by, I saw the brakes and then I saw the reverse lights.
Okay.
They had passed the address that they were looking for.
Okay.
And I instantly knew it because I can feel that something happened to her because she knew because of my health, issues at the time to never not answer the phone.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And she knew that we were all each other had. We depended on each other. Even to the point that when I was in the hospital for very lengthy times, no one could be in my room. I would end up having these double rooms all the time with 2 beds, and one of the beds would be hers. She would sleep in the bed at the hospital with me. She's like, I'm not leaving my mom. I'm not leaving my mom. 11 years old, I'm not leaving my mom. You know what I'm saying? She would be with me the whole time. She would get the work sent from school and do her homework and her classwork and everything at the hospital, but she was not leaving her mom.
Wow.
So when I saw the black unmarked hit the reverse lights, that's what I said. I was like, son of a bitch, my daughter is dead. And he was like, why would you say something like that? Don't say that. I said, they don't send a black unmarked for a police report. I said, this is a regret to inform you.
Okay.
I knew it. I mean, I absolutely knew it. And that's exactly what they came and said. I wasn't there, I wasn't with her when it happened. What they said to me was that the young man who had been pursuing her, because she did not want to talk to him and she did not want to date him, be his girlfriend, he approached her in the mall.
Okay.
And was harassing her in the mall. And I was telling her where I was, there was a lot of noise. So I was hearing her, but it was hard to hear everything that she was saying.
Okay, because of background noise. Okay.
Right. And I was telling her, I says, look, that's what mall security is for.
Okay.
I said, inform them and let them know that this young man is harassing you. And they will escort him out of the mall where he cannot buy. You are at work. He don't work in the mall. So he has, if he's, causing problems, they can escort him out.
You got to go.
So I said, just tell the mall security and they'll escort him out and it won't be no problems. Apparently, I think that's what happened. Okay. They escorted him out. And she just continued on with her day or what have you. And when she was leaving work, her and her coworker, I don't want to say his name.
Just male coworker, we're good.
Her male coworker, 17 years old as well. It's the one that had just had a baby, a newborn baby.
Okay.
And they were both leaving out of the mall doors and just like the little breezeway before you get to the end of the curb. They were walking through the breezeway and getting ready to both go catch the train. Okay. They were both going to catch the train. They weren't dating or anything like that. They were just coworkers. At the same place. He approached them as she was, coming out of the breezeway. It's like he sat there and stalked and waited for her to get off. And as soon as she came out, he approached them. And from what I was told, he was in her face, really close in her face and, rah, 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 and whatever. And the young man stood in front of her. Okay. He kind of, guarded her and he stood in front of her. Like, this is her picture behind me. He did one of these numbers. Okay. He squared her off, and he was like, back up, dude. What's wrong with you? Right. You know what I'm saying? Get out of her face like that. And he took a 22
Mm.
caliber gun out of the pocket of the hoodie. He had on a black hoodie. He took a 22 out of the pocket of the hoodie and he shot him 3 times
Mm.
until he dropped. And when he dropped, it exposed my daughter
Okay.
and he shot my daughter in the face. The bullet went in her face here and it came out here.
Okay.
It severed her artery in her neck. So she actually was dead before she even hit the ground.
I want to just pause for a moment, Jessica, and just pause. Just take a sip of your beverage and just breathe a little bit. And I know and I know thank you for being so willing to share this to help other people. But it costs you something to have this conversation. It costs you because your daughter was your daughter. And even though telling this is important to keep telling her story, it still hurts to do it. And I want you just to give yourself a moment to catch yourself. And for people that are listening to this conversation, it is so important to find a safe space to be able to share your journey. Do not allow grief to mute you. These conversations are hard, but they are also very healing. And it is extremely valuable to know that there's somebody that cares and wants to hear your story, that the person you love has not been forgotten and their journey is important. And that is why I'm intentionally having these types of conversations, because widowhood is not about only the loss of a spouse, it is the loss of your child, parents. We all have relationships that have been severed because of death that we put on our good face. We come and show up in society, but there's a part of us that has been ripped to shreds as we still try to continue on in this journey. So I am so grateful for Jessica being willing to share her journey in this process.
I thank you for actually giving me this opportunity um, because I never got it.
Hmm.
I never got it. Um, Basically, she was murdered, and it was just society, family, churches, people, period, was just like moving right along. Like, what I'm saying, don't worry about it. She's dead and gone. What I'm saying, suck it up. Um, no one ever really gave me the opportunity to fully grieve,
Okay.
um, even process kind of like what was happening.
Yes.
I just kept going to the door. I had this door on the house that had like almost like a prism like glass piece in
Okay.
the middle.
Oh, okay. I've seen those, like a frosted
Uh,
glass sort of. Okay. Yeah.
yeah, like the
Yes.
frosted prismy like glass, what have you. And what I did was I actually sprayed it, but I kept the middle diamond piece, what I'm saying, clear, and I used it like a peephole.
Well, you don't want people seeing through your house, so it's like you want to feel safe because somebody can see a
Right.
shadow going by. I get that. I get
Right.
that.
So I just, but I used it as a peephole because the door didn't actually have a peephole.
Right.
But if somebody rang the doorbell or whatever, at least I could look out and see who it was. And
Right.
for so long, I kept going to
Yes.
the peephole, and I kept, because if I looked like a certain way through it, I could see right up to the corner of her coming around that little bend. And I was like, here she comes. Here she comes. She's always had her little headphones on, and she'd be ticking and pop locking her way on down the street, what I'm saying, to the house. She was a music buff like me. Um, so I just kept going to the door thinking that this is a bad dream.
And
I'm gonna
yes.
wake up. I mean,
Yes.
I was literally hitting myself on the forehead, like, wake up, Jess, wake up.
Yes,
Wake up, come out of this. I felt like I was in the worst dream trance possible.
for sure.
That I was in this coma dream like trance where I was just like, wake up, wake up. I just kept hitting myself, telling myself to wake up. This is a bad dream. This is not really happening. She's going to bend that corner any minute now. She's, okay, she never does this, but, she is a teenager. They do stuff like this, what have you. And it just was so unreal to me because she was such a good kid. I mean, I know everyone's, their kid is an angel, whatever, but she literally was. Like,
Mm.
I don't even know how to explain that.
Well,
She was,
I'll say something while you catch yourself and you gather your thoughts. The grief is so much more than the burial of our loved one. It is the everyday unpacking the reality that they are no longer here. It is every day where we have to sit down at the kitchen or dining room table or the counter where we would have breakfast, lunch, or dinner and have that alone. It is the false narrative that our brain will play because the memory patterns have not shifted or changed enough to be able to accept that this person is not here. And grief is hard. Um, it is something we endure. It is a place that we will always carry with us some form of fashion, but it doesn't mean we have to stay stuck in that particular moment where it happened. But when we visit it, it is raw and real, and it is like it just happened when we really dive into it. And once again, I want to thank Jessica for being willing to travel back into that moment to be able to share that with us. And it's also important she's sharing it with you so you know your feelings are important and to not have to hide those, to find a space where your voice is heard. Because the longer you hold it inside, it becomes more difficult to carry. And it is good when it gets released, but hopefully sooner than later for you.
you know, because I've held it for so long, um, it's what caused the syndrome that I actually have at this current moment. I held it so long. I dealt with so much. Let me try to find a nice word to say this.
Well, let me do this. Let me ask you this. From what you have experienced, if someone has recently lost their child and they are struggling to sleep at night, they are struggling to wonder if anybody cares, what advice would you give them? Or share from your own experience, however you want to phrase that.
I've come to know that my experience has been extremely isolated and lonely,
Okay.
considering where I've known many of people that have lost, children and lost loved ones. Even the mother of the young man that stood in front of my daughter and took 3 bullets for her. Um, I surrounded myself around her. I girded her. Um, I made sure that we did everything for his burial and everything first. I did not do them at the same time. I wanted to give her, and I helped her, with those costs and things as well, financially. Um, I took care of the baby as much as I bought all these things and stuff for the baby. Um, because I felt like I owed him that. He laid his life down for my
Right.
daughter. I'm positive that he did not think that that was going to happen. He thought probably at most he was going to have to box with this guy.
Right.
Um, I don't believe that he felt, that was even on the table or what have you. So I felt like I owed his mom all the respect and honor, you know what I'm saying, to do and to help her and to gird her as much as possible for what he did for my daughter. And then I took care of my daughter's burial stuff and what have you. I put my daughter on the back burner to put him first.
So in that advice that you're giving, how
the advice that I'm giving is try to remember all the moments that you can, good, bad, ugly, or indifferent. You know, that was part of her growing up. It was part of her, you know, being and learning who she was as Kendra, you know. So take every day, you know, and enjoy and take advantage of every day.
Okay.
Because you don't know, you know, even the Bible says tomorrow is promised to no man. No man knows the day or hour when the Lord cometh. And that cometh doesn't mean for the last coming of cracking the sky and he going, you know, carry everybody up. It means when he cometh for you. You know, our days are numbered here on this earth. I learned a lot of things in her death about her that, you know, puzzled me all her life. From the time I was pregnant with her to birthing her, just throughout her life, people would always refer to her as an angel. They was like, oh my gosh, she looks like an angel. She looks like an angel. Oh my gosh, she's an angel. That's my angel. That's my angel. She even got the name, they called her the angel that walked College Park. Every time somebody saw her, they said, where you going? Gotta go to work. I'm busy. She was like, gotta go, gotta go, gotta go. They're just always the angel that walked College Park. That's what they called her. And I used to look at her myself as mom. And sometimes I would just be staring at her and she'd be go, what? I got a booger? And I would say, no. It was so funny because she would always say that. She says, what? I got a booger? And I would say, no. I said, sometimes you just look so angelic to me. I said, I look at you and I said, I would swear the heavens are going to open up and be like, ah, you know. And she was like, oh, mom, she would, every time someone referred to her as an angel or looking like an angel, she would hurry up and pass them off and hurry up and like dip off somewhere. Okay. Oh, y'all just saying that, gotta go. And she would leave. And I didn't pay it much attention or whatever. I just thought that she was one that didn't know how to receive compliments like that or whatever. That's the way I kind of at first received it, but she never gave me a day of trouble. She literally potty trained herself. Wow. She was like, I don't want to wear diapers. I don't want to wear panties, mommy. I'm a big girl. I promise I stay dry. And I was like, you know, I said, well, just put the pull-up on just in case. She said, no, that's for babies. I'm a big girl. I stay dry. She'd be on the toilet, her little teeny feet just hanging out of the toilet because the rest of herself was in the toilet. We know what that looks like. She never wet the bed. She never went to the pull-up stage or the full, come on, go potty, go potty. She would just literally tell me, I'll potty. I'm like, okay, take her there. She'd be like, I went potty. You know what I'm saying? I mean, she just, everything, bottles was not an issue. When I got rid of the bottles and what have you, I literally was just like, okay, we're going from bottles to sippy cups and everything. And I just waited till trash day and I put all the bottles in the trash and I waited till trash day and she said, I want Baba. And I said, the trash man took them because the trash man actually took them. And she would be in the window, she'd be cussing that trash man out, like, bring back my bottles. And I was like, I know he took your bottles. I said, it's okay, but mommy got a new cup for you, you know? So she was like, okay. She was just so compliant her whole life.
Those are
she
beautiful
never
memories.
Gave me any trouble whatsoever. She was an excellent student. She was the captain of her color guard and the sergeant of her drill team at ROTC in school. She actually got the attention of the general. They had her lead the parade, but she didn't have proper rank on her uniform. So I'm just following the parade, and I'm just so happy at my baby. Look at her, she's doing that thing, and she's twirling the rifle. They got the gold stars on their uniforms. Actually, her uniform is in this closet behind me.
Oh, wow.
I had it covered up and everything. They actually let me keep her uniform with her ropes and
Mm.
everything. And I should have put it out and hung it behind me, but I'm sorry, I just wasn't even thinking. So
No,
I
no,
thought,
no. But you can take a picture and then we can put it in the show notes in the blog if you would like that.
yeah, yeah. So she got the star on their uniforms because she twirled the rifle and things at one of their competitions.
Okay.
And I mean, this general comes at the end of the parade and he was like, whose child is this? And I was like, oh God, what did she do wrong? I'm like, mine. And he was like, awesome job. Who's your commander? And we were both like, we pointed right over to him and he was like, she did an awesome job, and I just want to know why she doesn't have proper rank on her uniform, what happened. So she like made rank instantly. And she had just, became ROTC.
Nice.
She would do leaps and bounds just amazingly. And it used to literally amaze me some of the things that she would do so far ahead of her time.
Wow.
And I would tell her to calm down. I said, relax, don't worry, you got plenty of time. And she was like, no, it's not enough time as it is already. No, she was always wanting, busy, busy, busy. I want to do this. I want to do that. I want to experience this. I want to experience that. Bless the Lord, she got to go to a prom because it was not her prom, it was a prom, but she got to experience going to a prom and doing her dress, and I did her hair and everything and what have you. The young man that took her, he came and he asked properly to take her to the prom, and he was like, tell her not to worry about anything. I'm paying for everything, her dress, her shoes, whatever. I'm paying for everything. And it was funny because they both used to model for the JCPenney's catalog and didn't even know it, right?
Those are some beautiful memories, Jessica. I know we have been talking for a while. How have you learned to continue living in your daughter's absence?
I had no choice.
Okay.
I went through massive heart failure afterwards. My heart failed massively. And I finally got diagnosed with, they diagnosed me with broken heart syndrome. Basically, it shattered my heart, what happened to her. Because she didn't deserve that. She didn't position herself for that. She wasn't a young lady who was out there being grown and fast or, anything like that, as people say. I just felt like, life had cheated her, so to speak. But I understood things better when I found out who she really was. This is a little off from what people would probably expect me to say. I told you I always looked at her and said she looked angelic. People would always refer to her as an angel. And I was just, come to find out, there was a guy that used to come by my house every day from the very first night that I moved into this house.
Okay.
He walks by the house and he was always walking really slow. He was just strolling. And he stopped right in the middle of the walkway and never crossed the curb. He stayed in the street. And he was like, well, hello, Miss Lady. I've been waiting on you. And he said, God is good. And I leaned over and I said, all the time. He said, and all the time. I said, God is good. He said, amen. And he would keep strolling down the street.
Okay.
Every single day, he would either be strolling up or strolling down, and he would stop and say the same thing all the time. And this was from the very first night that I moved into the house. I put a little stool out there just to see what the neighborhood was like at night.
Okay.
Because they say the kids come out at night.
Neighborhood changes,
so,
yeah.
Right. So I wanted to see what the neighborhood was like at night, And it wasn't until my daughter was murdered, that he crosses the curb and he's knocking on my door. My mother and the pastor's wife and her arm bearer had just came to my house at the time. They had just gotten there. He then stole somebody's flowers out their yard. And I mean, you can still see the roots and everything on it. He just stole somebody's flowers out their yard or what have you. And he said, he's at the door. If you look at him, he looked like he might have been a homeless man or someone who was on, you know what I'm saying, drugs or something.
Disheveled, yeah.
But before, like a couple of weeks before it happened, his language changed, which made me start, you know what I'm saying, looking at him different. Like I said, okay, wait a minute. This is not who I think it is. You know, he may look like a homeless man to y'all, but I'm like, I don't know. I beg to differ, because his language changed and it was hitting my ear a certain way that I was like, okay, I need to find out who this man really is. I found out what his real name was and things like that, what have you. Come to find out, he says to me, I came to see the mother of the angel that walked College Park. That's what he said. The woman who answered my door was like, some crazy dude at your door talking about his name all the time. And I was like, oh yeah, let him in. But they're looking at him because they're looking at his countenance. And I already figured out and found out who he was and what have you, because I kind of started seeking the Lord about this one, because it just rang my ear in a very different way. And come to find out, he was a recording angel. I was like, this is so unreal. I said, this cannot be happening to me, you know? He said, by now, you know what I'm saying, I'm trying to do my daughter's preparatory for her service. I had to go into the mortuary and reconstruct my daughter's face myself. I did it myself. Because what they did at the mortuary did not look like my daughter. So I asked them to take it off and if I could do it myself. And they were like, yeah, but they never had that request before, ever. I took sculpting when I was in high school twice. I had this overwhelming feeling to take it twice when I was in high school.
Wow.
And never knew that that was the reason why God had me take it twice. Because that same techniques that I learned in high school, I ended up using them with wax and sculpting tools to reconstruct my daughter's face.
Wow.
And
so
everything. So he knocks on the door. He says, you know, I came to see the mother of the angel that walked College Park. And he says, I'll be back. He said, I'm gonna let the family, you know what I'm saying, come through, but I'll be back. Every day he still comes by, he says, where you been? And I said, well, I was at the funeral home trying to get her ready and what have you. And it was late at night or whatever. I'm sitting out on the porch on this little stool. It's a little bar stool. I'm just sitting on it. I've got my feet on the spokes of it. And I'm hearing this clap, clap noise like bat wings. And it was so loud that I was like, yeah, that's a big old bat. I was like, I gotta move it. They got bats this size over here. I was like, I'm in hell. I was like, it literally startled me so that I almost fell off the stool.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? Because it was so close and it was like pow, pow, pow. And I was like, whoa, and I almost fell off the stool. And he came to me, he said, sorry about the other night. You almost fell off the stool. He said, I was running late. I have to make my report at 3:00. And I was like, I'm not figuring out what you're saying. I'm trying to, put it together. My mind is everywhere at this point, but I'm trying to figure out what he's saying. He said, yeah, they've been trying to get me for years. He says, but I stay on my post. I make my reports at 3:00. And I was like, okay. So now fast forwarding a few days, funeral time is here. My daughter, mind you, I said that I did the young man first. So everybody had plenty of time to take off of work, schedule your flights or whatever, to be here.
Mm-hmm.
My daughter's telling me it's funeral day. Limousines are here. I've got an apostle's hand and I've got a bishop's hand, and we're about to do the prayer before we leave the house. And somebody is telling me, we got to wait. So-and-so is not here. I was like, look, my language was like, ooh, oh, so raw at this particular time. I had no filter and I had no grace for anyone. You know what I'm saying? The bull was not getting ready to happen at this particular time with me. I mean, I was angry.
Yes.
I was angry, and it was bothering me even more that people were so callous.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? At a time where I needed you to gird me and undergird me, you were being so callous, like it was about you.
Mm.
I was left at the house by myself to do everything by myself while everyone was at my sister's house, like it was a family reunion down over there, to the point that there was a church between my house and a neighbor's house. Their parking lot was between us. And she used to do their summer Bible camps with the kids. She would go and help with the little kids. And the pastor of this church comes to the house to give his condolences, and their church took up an offering for me or whatever for her. And he comes and he was like, how you doing, whatever. And I invite him in. I says, come on in, sir. You know what I'm saying? Thank you for coming and everything. And he realizes that I'm in here by myself. And he was like, wait a minute. He said, are you alone? And I said, yes. It was so disturbing that the pastor started cussing. He said, well, where the hell they at? He's asking where people are. And I said, apparently, it's a family reunion going on down at my sister's house, you know what I'm saying, in Ellenwood. So he was like, well, what are they doing down there? They need to be with you. And I said, well, evidently it's just not, it's not important. You know what I'm saying? I said, at the end of the day, what can I do for you, sir? He was upset, what have you. My daughter is telling me, Mom, don't be late. You cannot be late for the funeral. You have to be on time. I have to make my report at 3:00. Her funeral was started at 12:30. And I was like, my mind was thinking that she was talking about roll call for like ROTC. And I'm saying, no more ROTC, baby, no more roll calls. You know what I'm saying? It says, you can rest now, And she says, no, mom, I can't be late. You have to leave on time. To the point that literally people were talking about, oh, we got to wait for so-and-so because they're not here yet. And I just literally stopped the entire room. I said, look, she didn't half-ass her life when she was here, and we're not going to half-ass send her home. Whoever ain't here is getting left, period. Her father, and it's not like he didn't know that, she was his, or, it was in question or anything. She looks exactly like you, you know what I'm saying? He shows up literally like 3 minutes before the limousine is leaving. And I told him, your ass almost got left. And I meant it, because I would have left him as well. You didn't help me raise her. You really wasn't there for her when she was living, whatever. You know what I'm saying? And he didn't help me bury her. I incurred that whole cost myself.
And you bring up a good point, that the people we think are going to show up and do things may not be there. And the question I asked you, how has it been living and trying to exist after Kendra's death, that you just had to? And it sounds as if you had to carry, because things had to happen. Things had to get done. And it seems as if you probably have spent a great deal of time since that day continually carrying and continually getting things done.
Constantly.
Have you learned or had the opportunity to start taking care of yourself?
It's so weird. I've been taking care of myself.
Okay.
for a very long time, even as a young lady, before even her being born, I was taking care of myself in my own apartment, paying my own bills and rent, what
No, no,
have you.
no,
My
not
mom,
not being able. I mean, self-care. I mean, as far as journaling, taking care of your mental
I
health, not being able to take care of yourself in the capacity of that way. I apologize. To really, and if I heard you correctly, this is the beginning
I
of
felt
new conversations of you giving self-care for yourself.
it really is, because I never had the time or the opportunity to stop and just take care of Jess.
Okay.
I never was given the grace or the assistance, to woosah
Okay.
in my moment. It was just basically chop chop, keep going,
Right.
pay them bills, go to work, do this, do that, go to the doctors, da da da, you know what I'm saying, figure it out, whatever. Boo, boo, boo. In the midst of people stealing from me, I had the pastors that actually eulogized my daughter steal 30 grand from me.
Mm.
At that time, my own mother, stole from me at that time. She got caught going in the drawer, taking the money out of the cards that people had given me.
Oh.
I begged my mother to put it back, and she basically, says some choice words at me and what have you. She was saying some choice words about people that had showed up, for my daughter, because they weren't dressed a certain way or what have you. People were literally leaving their jobs.
But she was deflecting from what
Just
she was doing and trying to turn it on
right,
what's going on there.
deflecting about what somebody was wearing or what someone looked like or whatever. And I was like, okay, literally, are you serious? Her second grade teacher was in Japan. This man saw her story on CNN and literally took a flight from Japan
Mm.
for a student that he had in the second grade.
Wow. Your daughter is
And
so impactful.
he brought her assignment that he kept
Oh.
as an example to his class of the type of work he was looking for.
Wow.
He brought it and he gave it to me. It's actually in another room in my house right now behind a puzzle. It was a puzzle that her and I did. Um, it was the last thing that we had did together was a puzzle. And I
Okay.
have it literally in the frame behind the puzzle, this particular art project that she did for this teacher. But this man flies all the way from Japan. And my mother, is talking about what somebody's wearing and da da da, and who's trifling, this, that, and the other. And I'm like, I ain't got no time for none of this foolery.
Because when
You
your
know what I'm
person
saying?
dies, the things that may have seemed to catch your attention, they don't anymore. They don't even
No,
hold weight. Maybe if you were at somebody else's thing, but when it's your person and you're sitting in the front row, the dynamics of life has changed altogether. Have
right.
you been able to find joy in life?
I have tried.
Okay.
I try. And I'm still in the fight for trying.
Okay, so what things give are you happy about in life? And that's fair because this journey of losing our loved ones is not something that happens quickly.
No. Um, I am happy that despite losing her, I still had two other daughters
Okay.
um, that have done well. One has her master's degree. She is a fifth grade teacher now. She is now Miss Riding, you know what I'm saying? Fifth grade
Yes.
teacher. She calls me the other day, Mom, these students are getting on my nerves. I was like, you gonna work it out. And she's got some little issues, and I've been trying to help her work out those little issues with her class. She has a large class, which is, I
Okay.
think, overcapacitated. So I've been trying to give her mom wisdom of how to orchestrate her class to help it work for her, having that many students, you know what I'm
Okay.
saying, and only being one teacher in the room. And the youngest twin is in law school. She's getting ready to start her 3rd year of law school. So,
And just wrote a book too, right?
and she just wrote a book on how to prepare and what you need to know about getting into law school, professional school.
And where can
So,
somebody buy that book? Can they message you,
um,
email you, or how can they get a copy of
yes, they
it?
can email me and I can
Okay.
forward them any information that they need. It's currently an ebook.
Okay.
It is in process of being printed. So currently it's an ebook right now, and I do highly suggest anyone who is considering going to law school, professional school, that you get this little pamphlet book. I mean, it's not a big book, it's not a large read, but the information in it is straight to the point. It's exactly what you need to know that you're often not told.
Excellent.
There was a lot of information. She is, first generation, of getting a degree
Okay.
of this sort, you know what I'm saying? And she's not just getting an associate's degree or a certificate, this is Juris Doctorate, the highest
Right.
degree you can get.
Wow.
So I am super ecstatic about that. She's doing well. And now I'm just working on getting them married and getting me some grandbabies.
So let me ask you this, Jessica and Jess, if you could pick any time in your past, any age or any moment, what would you pick and what would you tell yourself? Your advice doesn't allow you to change anything that's going to happen, but just gives you advice on what you need to do and handle life.
I actually do it already. So it's kind of weird that when you ask that, that's why I say ask it again so I can make sure that I'm thinking correctly, because I actually do it.
Okay.
Live every day as if it were your last. There's colloquialisms that we say, cliches that we say, that some opportunities are once in a lifetime.
For
And
sure.
yes, they are, because they say certain things in life comes full circle.
Mm.
So we say the full circle is like a clock. Imagine this being a round item. I'm saying? It's like a clock.
Okay.
And an opportunity presented itself at 1:00, and you don't jump on that opportunity. You don't know if you're going to live long enough for that same opportunity to come back around and represent itself, if it represents itself. So some opportunities truly are once in a lifetime.
Yes.
And I actually have lived by that my entire life. My father spoke in parables like Jesus all the time. I mean, every time. My father was so funny. He reminds you of Bill Cosby, but he spoke in parables like Jesus. And he never cussed either. He would get so mad at my mom because even my mom was like 9 sailors in one. And he would be like, Lane, stop cussing in front of them kids. You know what I'm saying? Whoa, whoa, whoa. He said, he would get upset or whatever. And my father would be like, Dad, blag it. Them frickum frackum kids. Get on my plastic nerves. He called them frickum frackum kids, And the Dad Blaggett thing used to be the funniest thing to me. Dad Blaggett. He was saying, them frickum frackum kids get on my blasted nerves, you know what I'm saying? But he wasn't a cusser.
Okay.
But my mom was, you know what I'm saying? And I messed around and repeated something that my mom said once. And he was like, didn't I tell you about cussing in front of these kids,
Okay.
But he taught me that about, having opportunities that present themselves. If you can do it, do it.
Okay.
If you have the money, if you have the time, I was a person that I learned a lot of stuff for free.
Okay.
I'm old enough, without telling my age.
We will not ask.
But I'm old enough that where apprenticing was still very valid in the land at the time.
No. That's some good advice. So what you're saying is when the opportunity presents itself, take it. Don't put things off because you don't know if you'll really ever have an opportunity to do it again.
Right.
Okay.
Right, absolutely. I mean, I apprenticed a lot of things. If I met someone that was doing something that interests me, I was, literally humble myself and be like, hey, if I come every day, you show me how to do that?
Oh, wow.
And they were like, you want to learn how to do this? I was like, yeah, looks so cool. I think I can do it.
I love the application on how to do it because a lot of times people say, I want to do something, but you're saying find somebody that knows how to do it and let them show you. Be in there with it.
Because I didn't get the opportunity to go to college.
Okay.
That's another whole story in itself. I got into Juilliard, but
I'm gonna put those notes.
I
so
was
we have a
not
whole
given the grace to
conversation
go there.
on your story because we have literally not even brushed the surface of it, and we have already been talking for 2 hours just about. And I want to have the second part of that conversation because I want to give it the honor that it required. And I know this much has been draining on you, but we will have a part 2 to this because I want you to be able to talk about we haven't talked much any about you, the wonderfulness of your daughter and a little bit on your other two. And you have a whole story on top of this because you just like anybody else in this world, you have your own journey.
Right.
I would ask you this for you to close out this conversation and speak to the people that are listening to this and speak to them however you would want to end this conversation.
Know that it is an honor and a privilege to be found worthy to have a child, to be responsible for a child, to take on the role of leading, guiding, structurizing this child. Biblically speaking, train up a child in the way that they should go, that when they get older, they won't depart from it. Know that that is one of the biggest honors man could have on this earth, is to raise a child, to birth a child from a female's perspective, from a father's perspective, to cover a child, to shield and protect a child. So if you ever have the opportunity to bring a child into this world or to be the father of a child, take that responsibility fully to heart and don't take it lightly. Don't, throw that opportunity away, because everything that child is actually a direct reflection of you. When your child grows up and people, come in contact with your child, they're like, oh, you're just like your dad. Oh, you look just like your mom. Oh, you sound like your mom. Oh, you sound like your dad. Your dad used to do this when he was little as well. Our children are direct reflections of us. So I literally say, one of the books that I was going to be writing is, What's Your Reflection? That's the title of it. What's your reflection? And literally, it's the essence of your children. Because what they do in the street is going to let people know basically what's being allowed at home. I had an opportunity one time where someone saw my two youngest children at the mall. One of the ladies from the church, she was at the mall with her daughter, and she saw my two youngest daughters at the mall. And she came up to him, she says, oh, I saw your daughters at the mall this weekend. And I'll be honest, my first thing was like, oh God, what is she going to say? And she turned around and said to me, you would be so proud. They were such ladies. They were so ladylike, and they were just enjoying their little meal. And, they were shopping and everything. You would be so proud. And I was like, hallelujah. Um, it's the worst thing you want to hear. Someone says, "Oh, I saw your child at the mall, and girl, she had on this old ratchet outfit and da da da." You know what I'm saying? I don't want to hear that. I caught her around, down in the alley with somebody or something. So I'm thankful, what I'm saying, that the report was a good report. They represented me well. So I would say honestly, be mindful of what you're rearing into your child, what you're rearing into the people that you love, and the people that's in your house, in your family, your wife,
Okay.
even how a husband cares for his wife. Even if you're not married to this woman, but she's carrying your child, even how you, as a father, baby daddy, whatever you want to put it as, cares for the woman who's carrying your seed.
Okay.
Says volumes about you.
Right.
Without you saying a word.
Excellent.
How you treat people, how you care for people speaks so many volumes about you and the character within you. So I would say, make sure that you're spending as much time with them and listen to them. We spend so much time on the phone and gossiping and things like that. And your child is saying, "Mommy, can I talk to you?" Or "Daddy, can I talk to you?" And you're like, "I ain't got time." I'm saying, go play, go watch TV. You're putting them off when you spend more time just parlaying on the toilet. You literally finished what you needed to do in the bathroom, but you're just sitting there marinating. And that's the same amount of time it could have taken you to answer the question that this child has. We are the adults. We are the ones who are learned. Some of us are highly educated. We got degrees and all kinds of technical knowledge and things like that and what have you. And it takes all of 2 seconds to answer a simple question rather than leave them open to have to go somewhat get their answer out in the street.
Oh.
And you don't know what kind of answer they're going to get.
That is excellent
advice. Is it going to be sound wisdom, or is it going to be something that's going to land them in jail or in the grave? So, be mindful of that, and love them as much as you possibly, love on them as much as you possibly can. Never let a day go by that you don't explain to them how much you care about them, how proud you are of every little accomplishment. They need that.
Yeah.
Our children need that. They need to know that we are aware, we see them, that we're not so caught up in pocketbooks and outfits and cars and this, that, and the other, that they're not a concern or they're not a factor. Some people, I watch them kind of walk by their children like they're furniture, and it kind of irks me. I'd be like, but my daughter was, she brought home kids. Most kids bring home stray cats and dogs. My daughter brought home kids every day. She brought home somebody's child from school. And my mom can help you. She knows everything. And I was like, stop saying that. I said, I don't know everything. And
so
they
your
were just
daughter, was doing what she saw them like you saw her. Your daughter made a point to see people right where they were, and she mimicked what you showed her how to do.
She sure did. Even to the point right before this happened, there was a young man that he had an argument or something with his family members, and they put him out the house, and he didn't have anywhere to go.
Wow.
And instead of her just saying, "Mom, can he come and sleep in the spare bedroom or whatever?" She thought I was going to say no. She snuck him into her room. And it scared me because that particular morning I had gotten sick and I, had vomited. So, and I got all over my pajamas. So I just grabbed, the little teddy thing that was in the bathroom on the back of the door. And I figured, okay, well, my husband's sleeping. I'm not going to wake him up. She's leaving to get ready to go to school. I'll just lay down in her bedroom, which was closer to the bathroom anyway. So I'm like, okay, I'll just lay down in there. And when I go in, I'm all exposed on the bottom half. I got this little short teddy on, and I go to crawl into her bed, and out the peripheral of my eye, I see this young man holding, the screen to the window. And I'm like, I snapped. I mean, I got him by the throat. He's off the floor. I've got him up against the wall. And I'm like, I'm trying to assess how old he is, take his head off, not take his head off. Am I going to jail? What's happening here? But first of all, if you didn't come to that front door, you ain't got no business up in here.
Oh my gosh.
So it was really, really funny. But she was like, Mom, don't hurt him. He didn't have anywhere to go. Mom. She's constantly was helping someone all the time. And I'm constantly still doing that to this very day.
And you have helped so many. You just did it today in this conversation. So thank you. And we will get together this may be 2 or 3 conversations. I don't know what it will take us, but I want to have the several conversations so we give full breath to be able to share your journey. Thank you for being here and having this conversation today. And we will have some more.
I'm realizing literally in this moment that this was so needed. Like, it's almost like I feel so like, oh, I just lost 20 pounds.
Oh, hey, wonderful.
I'm really feeling like light.
Good.
So I thank you so much for reaching out and giving me this opportunity that's been long, long needed. You're talking over 18 years.
Right.
That's a long time to hold something and never really get a chance to fully release it.
You are welcome. And we will have a few more conversations. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
You are welcome.
Thank you for spending another episode with Widowhood Real Talk. If you found the contents of today helpful, share the episode to anyone you know who may need it. Subscribe to the show and tune into Widowhood Real Talk each week. Then visit widowhood-realtalkwithtina.org to join the community and access additional resources. Remember, you are not alone in this journey.